welcome back to Create Compassion. I'm Lexi, and I'm here with my friend Eric today. Eric works in the mental health field, and he's going to share his story today just about how his relationship with Jesus has gone throughout his struggles with mental health and mental illness. So, Eric, I will let you introduce yourself.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Metcalf and Director of Peer Support Services. So I work in the field with peers.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm just going to jump right in and start asking you first about your faith. How was it? Like, what was life like when you first met Jesus? How did your relationship grow with him initially?
Early on in age, I would probably say pre-teens, Sunday school, raised in the church. Pretty much my childhood, that's all I knew. I was a member of YPWW, Young People Willing Workers. I was a member of the Sunshine Band. I was in the choir. I was a church boy. I was raised in the Church of God in Christ, Pentecostal. And so I knew Jesus at an early age. It was a way of life. It was all I knew, really. Fast forward on to college, and I went through some rebellious years where I wanted to kind of, map my own path, so to speak. And that's when I started straying away from Christ.
I think it's so cool because I feel like I grew up in the church too in a way, but then it wasn't super as involved. Like I went through confirmation as like a middle schooler and everything. But I definitely strayed away for a little bit too, and then came back to him after college. But what are your current mental illness and like mental health diagnoses?
Well, currently I've been diagnosed. I am a veteran of the United States Army. So I am diagnosed with PTSD, chronic insomnia. I have a mild TBI, traumatic brain injury from time overseas, as well as depression and anxiety. Those are the clinical diagnoses that I have.
You said your PTSD is from your time serving our country. Would
Yes.
you be able to share a little bit more about that, about how it happened, just to help people who might be going through?
Yeah, sure. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, was brought on by accident. I was in a very, very serious car accident while I was overseas. The accident involved me and another member of the service. The post-accident, as far as following the accident, improper things being done. Instead of getting medical care, getting proper counseling, things like that, I drank, which is what soldiers do. We drink. And so it was not the correct things to do following a very traumatic accident. We went off the highway and went down into down a cliff, so to speak. And so that caused reoccurring nightmares, dreams, hypervigilance, chronic headaches over years and years, still headaches even to this day. I didn't even realize I had a TBI until a year ago, maybe not even quite a year, but it's pretty recent through a MRI. That's where because we've been trying to figure out why I have these bad headaches. To me, it was a life lesson as far as things happen, accidents happen, things happen in life, but it's kind of what we do in response to what happens. It affects us. And so there's proper responses and there are improper ways of handling things that happen in life. And that had a lot to do with my mental illness as far as the PTSD portion.
I think that also emphasizes the importance of getting urgent treatment when you need it, to not hesitate to get help when something either traumatic happens or when you start recognizing symptoms. Yeah. Like, for me, I just started having symptoms one day as a child. We have to take proactive care of ourselves, and
yes,
something is wrong here. What can we do going forward? So
exactly.
That just emphasizes that completely. I know. So you've been married before. You said your first wife passed away. You told me initially at the height of your ministry with her. And yes. What I am interested in hearing about how that pushed you away from God, but also how you found your way back to God, or how he essentially found you after a time of grieving as well.
Well, yes. As I said, I was raised in the church. So I knew the Lord early on, but I knew him more in a religious aspect versus a relational aspect. Once I went through my years of college and studied religion and really looked into the Bible and read it for myself and really took it in as a relational aspect instead of just religion. Um, Very strong relationship with God, went through different things in life to where me and my wife ended up working at a ministry. The ministry was in Norfolk, Virginia, Union Mission Ministries. And it was a 300 bed men's shelter. And she worked at I think it was a 50 bed women's shelter. So we were a team. I was over a program with young men called David Development, based on the life of young David in the Bible. These were 18 to 28-year-old homeless men. And the program became very successful. We graduated 118 students. They ended up in the houses that they shared. So we went from being homeless to getting keys and having your own place. And great success stories, TV interviews, lots of funding that came through because of the success of the young men in the program. And my wife had an accident at work one day where she tripped over a couple of donation bags at the women's shelter. She hurt her knee. 5 months later, she was dead. No one could really explain to me what caused it. We went through several MRIs, CAT scans, spinal taps, you name it, we did it. But she slowly deteriorated over that 5-month period, and she passed on. I took that as a direct blow to who I was trusting, which was God. I took that as well, what did I do wrong? We were doing what you called us to do as a team, and now she's gone, and that wasn't a part of the plan. So I had my plan mapped out, retirement, everything centered around Union Mission Ministries, and we had it all worked out, but that wasn't what happened. And I took it very personally. It shattered my faith. Because I was very angry because doctors couldn't give me an answer. I couldn't get an answer from God. I didn't really understand why this happened. And so I I did all the things, like I said, as far as the response part. It happened. It happened. And sometimes we may not get concrete reasons or explanations for why. And because we're kind of programmed to have answers to our questions. If I got an illness, well, then this is what you do for treatment. But when you don't get those answers, it can become very, very discouraging. And it did for me. And so I resigned from my position. I really kind of severed ties with God, so to speak, because I was so angry with him. And I isolated. Once again, I isolated, did not really accept help that was being offered to me. And all of the mental health challenges that I had, they came to the surface. They were glaring.
It's all at once.
All at once. Everything came to the surface. And until I got to a place, even though I did everything that I could to basically destroy myself, to just, implode, I still, it would be angels that would still somehow come across my path, and just little nuggets of hope, little nuggets of you're going to be okay. Just those little bitty, they don't even know what it meant to me, because most of the people that did this were strangers. They didn't even know me, but they would just say things. I had a young man, because I even went over to Haiti during this time, and a young man sang a song for me because he looked at me. He didn't even know English, but he could tell that my heart was broken. And he sang a song for me with the guitar right there on the spot. And just little things, babies hugging me, just little things that would happen to let me know that God was with me, even though I was so hurt and angry. Thankfully, it got to a place to where I accepted. I accepted she was gone. I accepted that I may not get the answers that I'm looking for, but I accepted also God back into my heart to say, I know, Lord, you're sovereign. and that I know you are in control of everything. And some things you allow to happen that hurt us because we are in these physical fleshly bodies, but she is with you. She's in heaven. I accepted that. It took a while to get there. It took a while to get there. It took me also going through different things like Grief Share, which is a Christian grieving group. That was very, very helpful. Grief Share. I did that as I believe it was a 13-week course. But I did Grief Share. I did one-on-one counseling through the VA to go from what I went through as far as being in the position that I was in, because at the time I was a director, to basically losing everything because I gave up my career. I lost my home, vehicles, everything during this whole fight with hospitals and lawyers and all this other stuff. And to be able to start all over again and actually understand that there could be good that come out of a tragic situation. I'm living that now by doing what I'm doing for a living again. Just in a different dynamic, and I'm remarried to boot. So which I never saw coming. So I share my story to encourage others that even at our worst, God is at his best, even at our worst. And that's exactly where I was.
Well, I think number one, community. You kind of mentioned that in there, that community and like talking with people is important toward healing. But also, I think what I just heard was the story of the resurrecting power of God, how you had a situation, it was like life, death, and new life all in one. And I
Yes,
do think,
yes,
I mean, I know this from my own life that suffering is part of being a Christian.
yes.
But that it's so essential to being a Christian, but just hearing how you came out of it and there was new hope at the end and restoration, which I think is the biggest thing. It just really does show, like, God never truly leaves you. He's really always there.
No,
And
he
he's always
does.
working for the good of
And
everyone. So
I have to say, going from my cup being empty to my cup overflowing with gratitude, with love. I mean, I'm surprised daily with my new life and my new wife and my new grandkids. And, we went for a walk at a Japanese garden. Moments like that, I can feel like this humongous hug just enveloping me, saying, I've been with you the whole time. And these are things that I never, a few years back, because my wife died in 2018, no one would have told me I would feel this way ever again, that I would be genuinely happy, genuinely excited about my future. New goals, new dreams, new ideas. You're never too old to dream. You're never too old to start over. You're never too old for any of that. That I can actually feel like a child again. I would not have imagined because I was so hurt. I was so devastated.
and that's a very short amount of time you went through between like losing her and all that you're living in right now. Like that just shows how quick God can be to restore us when he
Yeah.
wants to be. And I guess like for anyone who would be listening to this, knowing that no matter how bleak your circumstances may look in a given moment, God can really switch it all around in
Oh,
just a
yes.
blink of an
Yes.
eye. So
He redeems time. I mean, even in the current position that I hold, that was all a miracle. My wife, a miracle. My life, a miracle. Being in the right state of mind, a miracle. There are things I have to do for daily maintenance because, I had a pastor who shared during one of his sermons that he believes in Jesus and therapy too. And that's me. I believe both can work
yeah.
together.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. I've learned I'm not in therapy anymore, but I've learned a lot that I can like kind of integrate into my relationship with God and like everything he's taught me, and it just all fits. It just all fits so
yeah,
nicely.
yeah. You don't have to have one or the other. They can work in tandem.
Oh, they
Uh,
absolutely can.
yes, they can. And that's what I kind of share with people in my role now. I share my life. I share that I get it. I've been there. And, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a loss of a child, whether it's a loss of a spouse, whether it's just a loss of yourself, you can regain it all. You can, and then some. You really can.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing your story. I'm really, really grateful. And I really do think it can help a lot of people who are going through similar things in their life find Jesus and just find hope, which is so important. So,
That's it. It's the key word, hope. Well, thank you,
hope.
Lexi, for giving me the time to
Thank
do
you
this.
so much. I'm so grateful Eric could join us today. So, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you guys all have a great day too.